Anne is the hero here, and she gets back with Diana, which is wonderful. It makes everybody happy. Mrs. Barry saw and realized that Anne didn't really mean anything with the currant wine. So croup is what they call bronchitis in little children. And bronchitis is an infection of the bronchial tubes, which lead into the lungs. And it hurts, and it leads to a cough, and there's a fever. And even now, there's not much that can be done with it because it's usually viral. And because it's viral, you keep the kid comfortable, and you keep the kid comfortable. You try and control the fever. But back then, there wasn't much to control the fever. Um, so, you do what you can do. And fluids are almost always a good thing. They're a good thing in this case. And Anne gave the child Ipecac. Now, Ipecac isn't much of a thing anymore. It's been replaced by other things for similar purposes. But Ipecac is used for two different things. One is the thing that is widely known about Ipecac is that it's used to make you throw up. And you're like, why would anybody want to throw up? But it was typically given if somebody was poisoned. So if a child ate something that they shouldn't have, if the child ate something that was poisonous, you gave them the Ipecac and they spit the stuff back up. Now, nowadays, that's not exactly best practices because there's problems caused by it coming up as well as going down. There's only certain things that should be treated that way, and you only get about a third of it out. But it used to be used back in the day to make people throw up. The second thing is it was used as an expectorant. Now, an expectorant loosens the phlegm in the lungs. So if you're sick and you have pneumonia or you have lung problems, they give you an expectorant. And what that does is that gets liquid into the lungs to loosen up the phlegm, and then you start coughing. So croup often has a very dry cough. It's very painful. It sounds painful. But the idea is that because the cough isn't productive, and you have this gunk maybe building up in the lungs, you give them the expectorant, in this case, Ipecac, and if you give it to them a little bit, if you give them a little bit of Ipecac, they don't throw up. If you give them a lot of Ipecac, then the stomach lining, you throw up. Anyway, so nowadays there are other expectorants used, guaifenesin, which is the thing in Mucinex that has the big snot monsters that you see on TV. Guaifenesin's been around like forever. Not quite forever, but it's one of those drugs that have been around a long, long time. But anyway, so the guaifenesin does the same thing that the Ipecac does, but you can take a whole bunch of it and not throw up. Don't take a bunch of cough medicine. Very bad. But it's safer, and that doesn't make you throw up. So Anne ran over with the Ipecac and gave the baby gave the toddler, the 3-year-old, a little bit, and waited a little bit and gave her some more and gave her some more and gave her some more until finally the bottle was empty. But that was enough to get her coughing, or to get her cough to be useful. Keeping the child warm is helpful. Keeping the child warm is helpful. Some bad things can happen with fevers, but you have to be careful how you treat it because a little bit of fever is good and a lot of fever is bad. You can get brain damage with high fevers, but if you have a sort of high fever, it can actually slow down and kill the viruses. So your body actually has fevers as a defense mechanism because At 102 degrees, a whole bunch of things start breaking down for bacteria and viruses, and the body can survive that for a little bit. But anyway, with something like croup nowadays, it's just keep the kid comfortable. And, fluids, rest, Tylenol, but they didn't have Tylenol back then because that's a relatively modern thing. But anyway, that is Croup. That is Ipecac.